as we get the ball rolling here on this Monday with the big injury that we're still waiting on some clarification from, which could affect the next couple of games, including the Christmas Day game for the Kansas City Chiefs, as Patrick Mahomes left yesterday's win against the Cleveland Browns with what they're calling is a high ankle sprain. At least that's what they're saying for the time being. Right now, it would appear that Mahomes very much in question to play this coming week. It remains to be seen if he'll be able to play on that Christmas Day game. This came late in the game, by the way. Kansas City was already up 21-7 in this game. A dominating defensive performance for KC for sure. But the focus right now has to be on Mahomes, who said adrenaline got him through and could have probably returned to the end of the game. But today we will find out his fate.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say right now. I mean, obviously, still adrenaline rolling, and usually it's kind of the day after when you kind of get a good sense of it. But I feel like I could have finished the game in different circumstances. But I thought the smart decision, I think we talked about, was to put Carson in, and he's played a lot of football, and he finished the game well.
Patrick, can you describe sort of exactly what happened or how you felt it?
Yeah, I was trying to run up in the pocket, obviously fourth down, trying to make a play happen. And as I threw the ball, I kind of got hit, and I haven't seen it, but it felt like someone hit me from behind as well. And so I kind of just got rolled up on. It kind of happens in football. And so tried to bounce back up, but obviously it hurt a little bit. But now we'll just get after the rehab part of it and try to be ready for next week.
Well, it's not broken. That's what I can tell. I mean, I just got off the field, so you know that, Sam. So I'm going to just see how it goes. I mean, it'll literally be day to day as we go forward. I don't know how much swelling he has or any of that, so or what will come, from now till whenever. So
How much did
21-7, the final, as the Chiefs just keep on winning. Meanwhile, another quarterback injury in the Sunday night football game as the Green Bay Packers go to Seattle and win by a final of 20-13, a dominating 30-13, a dominating performance yesterday. As once Geno Smith left the game for Seattle, the Packers just simply had their way with the Seahawks. No word yet on how long Geno Smith will be out, but as we go to the Packers, Matt LaFleur, the head coach, said it was all about the defensive performance.
As part of our team effort, especially our defense, I thought they played a really good game. For 4 quarters, got constant pressure on the quarterback, got a couple takeaways. It was great to have Cooper, obviously, back. His stat line was pretty impressive, and he made some big-time plays. I think offensively we started fast and then stalled in the second half and didn't probably perform the way we'd like to, but you got to give them a lot of credit. I think that defense has come a long way. I got a lot of respect for Mike and his staff, Ad and Durde, for their ability to get those guys to play, and they play hard and they play the right way, and it's a good scheme, and so you got to give them a lot of credit. And but I also want to give a big shout out to our fans. I mean, I definitely was not expecting that many Packer fans in the stands. This is a tough place to play. It's extremely loud. And I was shocked when our defense was on the field and I could hear our Packer fans. So I definitely think that made a difference for us.
So much for the 12th man, Cheeseheads in Seattle last night. 90 points between the Bills and the Lions, with the Lions having a chance right at the end to come back. They couldn't stop Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills all day long. Detroit was a short 2.5-point favorite. Of course, this flew over the total. Josh Allen pretty much cemented his MVP candidacy, although Jared Goff had a huge game as well, over 400 yards passing in this one. Tons of offense, fun game. Well, we wondered why the Eagles were 5.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Seemed like a fishy line. Indeed, it was. It was very easy. The Eagles just crushed the Steelers 27-13. Really wasn't much of a battle, as it looked like that was the right spread. And the Denver Broncos sparked a huge fourth quarter comeback, really led by the Indianapolis Colts. Running back Jonathan Taylor dropped the ball right before the end zone. Broncos came back from there and dismantled the Indianapolis defense 31-13. They also had a defensive touchdown on a strange offensive play as well. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they go into Los Angeles and just keep on rolling. Baker Mayfield and company, speaking of rolling, they rolled over the Chargers easily, 40-17 the final. Tampa Bay has now won 4 straight games. They lead the division. If Atlanta loses tonight, that could be the end of the line for them against the Raiders. Lamar Jackson also had a huge game yesterday against the New York Giants. Probably won't win MVP, but he did throw 5 touchdown passes, and the Ravens easily covered the spread. Saints took the Washington Commanders right down to the wire yesterday, a last-second touchdown. gave the Saints a chance to tie to go to overtime, but they opted to go for a 2-point conversion and did not get it. So the Commanders win. They do not cover in that game, by the way. Jaden Daniels returned home and was happy to be in front of his fans with the win.
Life comes full circle. Starting my career here, coming back and playing my first year in the NFL in the Dome. It was nothing but love. It was nothing but love. Obviously, I'm happy that we won. I don't know if a couple people out there, Saints fans, might have some mixed emotions, but I was excited just to be able to play in front of them again.
Houston Texans capture the division again in the AFC South. It looks like they have put the Dolphins season to bed with a win 20-12 yesterday, as Houston did just enough coming out of their bye. Tua Tagovailoa, not his best performance, throwing a few picks in that one. 3 interceptions for Tua. One of the bigger stories that came out of that game is one of the wide receivers on the Dolphins, Grant Dubose, who came in for an injured Jalen Waddle, was hit in the head, had to be removed from the field on a cart. Tua talked about going through those situations himself in the past, certainly can relate.
I heard some good news that he's doing well, he's recovering. But we all know I've gone through something very similar, and that's no fun. You never want to be put in any of those situations, but you also understand that this is a physical sport, it's a contact sport. And again, I just think of what I could have done to have not put Grant in that situation.
Dolphins this week will take on the 49ers. Absolutely season on the line this week. Cardinals season was on the line every game the rest of the way. They took care of the New England Patriots 30-17. Kyler Murray briefly hurt in this one. Big game for James Conner on the ground. They covered the 6.5-point spread. Hey, the Bengals just keep on rolling offensively. They win 37-27 over the Tennessee Titans. Titans benched Will Levis in the game. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets finally get a win, 32-25 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Huge game for both Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. Cowboys beat the Panthers on the road 30-14. And, of course, Saturday night, in case you missed it, Travis Hunter ended up winning the Heisman Trophy Award. So congratulations to him. Pretty easy call there. Notre Dame making an announcement yesterday that they have extended Marcus Freeman, their head coach, as they get ready to play in the college football bowl game, with a statement yesterday saying the investment they continue to pour into our program is invaluable to our student athletes. The commitment goes well beyond myself. Meanwhile, Notre Dame is going to get their running back for the college football playoff coming up this weekend. Jeremiah Love, Howard Cross III. They will play in South Bend against Indiana. The Army-Navy game, Army was a 6.5-point favorite. Didn't matter at all. Navy went in and dismantled Army 31-13. And I don't know why, but Marshall has opted out of their bowl game against Army, losing a bunch of players to the transfer portal. So Louisiana Tech is going to fill in to play Army in their bowl game. And also Michael Van Buren has committed to LSU after leaving Mississippi State. In the NBA last night, LeBron James returned, and he helped the Lakers beat the Grizzlies by a final of 116-110. The Mavs win a 143-133 game, with Luka having 45 points yesterday. Welcome back to Newswire here on Sports Grid. Happy holidays to those of you who are watching. Let's bring in Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report. He's getting ready for these big bowl games coming up, college basketball season underway. Pat, great to have you back here on Newswire. Really interesting report that you guys had last week about this congressional hearing that's coming up. I've been waiting for a story like this and to pop, where they're going to review the Congress. They want to review everything that's happened since sports betting has been legalized, and sort of the good things that have happened, the bad things that have happened. I think this is really important to take a look back, and it seems like that's what they're going to do. Been waiting on this one.
Yeah, this is really not a surprise, I think, to anybody who pays attention to the industry. I mean, if you listen to Legal Sports Report podcast, which I suggest everyone do, even though it might take you away from the grid, Adam and Matt Brown have been talking about this for a couple years now, about how eventually all the little tiny bad things that have popped up and made, little news nuggets will kind of snowball and turn into something that the, U.S. lawmakers need to pay attention to. And of course that, they often brought up how, on big poster boards, you'll have the kind of sometimes problematic tweets from sports betting accounts and things that bring responsible gambling really into the limelight. And I think Tuesday might be the first time we see this in reality. This year has been kind of a tough year in terms of news for the industry. A lot of negative things, from the scandals like the Ohtani scandal to the Alabama baseball scandal to all these things, continued scrutiny on the responsible gambling and maybe lack thereof measures that lawmakers kind of wish there were more of. All these kind of things, the glut of advertising that people who don't maybe sports bet or don't like sports betting kind of get annoyed at. And all of this has kind of bubbled up, snowballed, made U.S. lawmakers pay attention. Of course, we have a fairly significant piece of legislation called the Safe Bet Act that was written by Senator Richard Blumenthal and Representative Paul Tonko to kind of really put in a big framework of advertising guidelines to kind of really make more robust responsible gambling requirements to the nationwide situation. Then of course we have Senator Lee and Senator Welsh, who have sent a letter to the Federal Trade Commission this month to say, hey, let's look at the anti-competitive measures that FanDuel and DraftKings might be doing. And all of this, again, just kind of snowballed. So sure enough, Senator Dick Durbin has called a congressional hearing for tomorrow, 10 a.m. In the Senate Judiciary Committee that will just kind of take a look. I don't know yet kind of how many witnesses we're going to go through, how many kind of things we're going to be looking at specifically, but you can be sure that it'll kind of take a huge peek under the rug at this industry and see, exactly what's going on and how, maybe the U.S. government can affect it. And this is a heavy hitting committee, by the way. I mean, you just look at the list of legislators that are on it. You've got Dick Durbin and Richard Blumenthal. You have Lindsey Graham, Amy Klobuchar, Chris Coons, Cory Booker, Chuck Grassley, John Cronin, Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz. It's a kind of a who's who of senators that have been on the national stage at least somewhat in the last couple of years. And, this is going to be something that to watch and say, I wonder what's going on. I, of course, am a political nerd. I love these things, especially, in the last year or so, we've had some weird UFO ones that are kind of fun to watch. So this kind of could be a similar thing that kind of keeps the news going. Are there going to be some negative clips coming out about the sports betting industry that'll hit the mainstream media? Sure. Very likely. So I would be prepared for that if you're a big sports betting fan.
Yeah, I think we'll get all of that. And you can read more about it at Legal Sports Report. As Pat said, check out their podcast as well. Okay, some news with 2026 or 25 coming, maybe 426 is what I was sort of alluding to. South Carolina, maybe a new sports betting bill possible being put on the ballot. I see some interesting tax numbers too, reasonable, by the way, for state of South Carolina. I think 12.5% tax if they get this pushed through. Very preliminary. And I would guess, Pat, if this does happen, it would be more for 2026, but maybe past next year. Does that sound right?
Yeah, so a new bill coming out. It is bipartisan. It's got a Republican and a Democratic sponsor. So that's promising in itself because, of course, as we always talk about here, it is a very bipartisan issue. You need people on both sides of the aisle because of, dissenters on both sides of the aisle. Now, South Carolina is one of those southern states that sees a lot of, Republican conservative opposition to gambling. And as a Republican controlled state, that's kind of an issue in itself. We've heard a lot of things. There's rumors out there that Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, he's U.S., but he's probably the biggest political name in South Carolina, is against gambling. So it probably won't do anything until he leaves office. But also, they're getting kind of worked up in states around them that have sports betting. Of course, North Carolina went live, and I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on South Carolina. And I've heard from some proponents that it probably won't get anywhere until Georgia legalizes, which, again, that's something we've talked about ad nauseum the last couple of years of Georgia coming close, almost getting it done, not quite getting it done. They're going to be a front runner to get it done in 2025. Does that make it kind of a situation where South Carolina lawmakers say, we can do it too this year, or are we going to wait until 2026 after Georgia launches? We'll see there. But yeah, it's a fairly standard bill. You've got, 8 licenses, which I think is pretty sound for a state the size of South Carolina. To your point, a very industry-friendly 12.5% tax rate with full deductions for promos and federal excise taxes. So very industry-friendly. I think lawmakers there are starting to say, okay, most states in the union have done it. A lot of states surrounding us, including our North Carolina neighbor and nearby Tennessee, have done it. A lot of other neighbors are very close to kind of getting something done, whether it's Georgia getting sports betting done or Alabama starting to expand their gambling abilities, or at least thinking about it and nearing that. So yeah, South Carolina, definitely something to watch. I don't think they'll get it done in 2025, but there's always surprises out there in the political world. And as I'm working on my predictions over there at LSR for the holiday week in our look ahead and look back stories, I do think 2 states will get it done. What 2 states next year, I'm not sure, but South Carolina, they're a dark horse and could.
All right, so we'll keep them on our list for a possibility for 25 or 26. All right, finally, I gave this story a click over at LegalSportsReport.com because it said that Michigan wants to increase taxes in sports betting. But honestly, I felt like you clickbaited me here, Pat. 1%? They can't get this passed? Why does FanDuel or DraftKings, why do they not want this to happen? Because they think this will set a precedent for the future or something? This is such a small tax hike if this is the case.
Yeah, I mean, to a larger topic that we've talked about quite a bit is the industry is worried about tax hikes. I mean, a lot of states are talking about it. A few states have done it, like Ohio and Illinois, after seeing New York come out with a 51% tax rate. So other states are like, hey, we're missing out. And now you've got Louisiana talking about potentially hiking it. And now, of course, Michigan. And yeah, to your point, FanDuel, BetMGM, I think DraftKings did as well, sent out emails asking their customers to write their legislators and say, please don't raise the tax. To your point, 1% doesn't seem that big. However, it could just be a starting point to get the discussion started. And then at some point, the lawmakers start to hike it even more. Who knows? It could go up maybe another 10, 15% if the amendments kind of flow in. So it's something the industry doesn't want to, kind of start thinking about. They just want it to stay status quo. And so Michigan, my state, will be one that I'll be watching closely this legislative session around that bill.
All right, Pat, thanks again for coming on Newswire. I really appreciate it. You on the rest of this week? Am I going to see you again? Or
I'll be on Wednesday, hopefully celebrating a Michigan State win tomorrow night. So let's
all right.
think that way.
All right, Pat, have a great weekend or a great
too.
week. See you Wednesday. Weekend. It's only Monday. I guess I'm looking forward to that.